Welcome back, everyone, to episode 34 of the Tricks and Traps Speedrun. So it's been a little while since last episode. Life has been hectic, but I do appreciate everyone's patience. And I am excited to get the speedrun back underway. I'm coming into today rated 1801. My win streak is something. I'll put the number above my head. And yeah, hopefully we can have some fun, instructive games today. Friendly reminder for those that are not familiar with the series, I started at a 400 elo. I am playing on an authorized speedrun account, and I'm trying to work my way up the rating ladder while playing a lot of tricky and trappy chess, while also hopefully providing a lot of lessons along the way. So let's hop into the first game. Okay, first opponent playing Carlilos LR. Also, reminder that any game I win, my opponents will receive a rating refund. But this game gets aborted. Okay, let's try and find someone who wants a game. And here we go. Let's offer a Stafford. It's a Petrov, so white has other options than knight takes e5. Yeah, we're going to have a 4 knights. And there are a few fun lines. White's actually playing a tricky line a3, which I sometimes like to play as white. The idea is if bishop c5, then there's a center fork trick, and that's usually preferable for white. I'm going to play a reverse Halloween gambit, because why not? Knight takes e4, sacrificing a knight. Halloween was a few months ago. The idea is I will have some nice central expansion. Objectively, this is probably a bit dubious, but I think it's very playable at this rating level. And there's a few options for white. White saves a knight. I'll keep pushing. White could give back the piece like bishop b5 and allow takes. The best move is probably to retreat back to g1. Queen e2. I guess that's also a move. I have to think now because I don't think this is the best move. It blocks the bishop. And I could very easily like develop and break the pin, and the knight would still probably be forced back. Yeah, bishop e7 is one of my top candidate moves. White does want to play this move next, d3, and pressure the pawn. The other option is to play bishop g4, and if h3, I have knight d4. Maybe that's a bit more aggressive. I like bishop g4, actually. Because this is a massive threat. And as white, it's very easy to maybe get careless and play h3 and not realize a counterattack. Okay, so white sacks a knight. Now I really want to play knight d4 still. The problem with this move is knight f6 is checkmate. Double check and mate. So I probably have to take the knight. Also bishop f3, knight f6 mate. So I'll take and then queen e7, I guess. Yeah, there's really two options here, queen e7 or bishop e6. I will be down a pawn. I like queen e7 just to develop a bit quicker, even though we trade queens. Assuming takes, I'll take with bishop, and then the rooks come to the center very quickly. And I feel like there should be some compensation for the pawn. So white's pausing here. I mean, if not queen takes e7, there is d3. But d3 I can take and double the white pawns. Okay, yeah, castling queenside I think is very logical. Moves like this I just want to play quickly. And I think the ideal setup is bishop f6 and rook he8. I'll start with bishop f6. Tying down this bishop to defending b2. Now rook e8. White's under a bit of pressure. I might already be winning, like just winning here actually. Bishop takes f3. The bishop's pinned, forcing pawn takes f3. And then knight d4 is a massive fork. Yeah, I think this is a winning combination. Knight takes e2 would be another fork along with knight f3. Yeah, white is crumbling a bit. So that worked out nicely. Yeah, white had to probably be a bit more careful. Maybe played a little bit too carelessly there. You can take the rook and then take the pawn. Okay, I'll take my time here because takes there is rook a1. This is maybe the most controlled. Just forcing a bishop trade. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if white resigns soon. The structure is as ugly as it gets. And if takes, then the bishop is hit. Pawns will probably keep dropping off. Okay, opponent abandons the game. So, yeah, that was a fun game. Maybe a few things to unpack there. This a3 move is, I actually played this in a classical game in Norway about a year and a half ago. It was actually my last classical tournament. And I use this to draw the Norwegian champion as white. I'll leave a link to the game below. People want to check that out. I think objectively the best move is d5 here. But yeah, I went for the reverse Halloween. Engine does not like this for black. But it's a bit tricky for white to deal with. Best move is knight g1. I would continue, and yeah, black is having some fun in this position. So after queen e2, yeah, just going forward here. So white is objectively better according to the engine, but it felt like a very easy position to play as black. Like all my pieces exerting pressure, and white already was in a spot where they have to find an only move. Bishop d1 is the only move here, which isn't super pretty, but it holds the position together. After rook e1, then yeah, black is completely winning. So nice game, up to 18-12. Let's keep it going. Okay, I'll play e4. We have a Sicilian. Oh, what do I want to play? Play knight f3. Keep my options open. Maybe wing gambit, maybe alapin. G6. Anything tricky to play against this? Yeah, I'm usually happy to play knight c3 on move 2 and then face g6. But g6 right away. Let's try and transpose into a Smith-Morra, how about? So if takes all, I'll play c3, gambiting the pawn. Accelerating development. And to be honest, I don't know too much specific theory here, but there's a lot of typical ideas in this kind of Smith-Morra gambit position. Or white's down a pawn, but I have some lead in development, some open files to work with. E5 is very often a thematic break, which I don't think works right away here. The move to play is probably queen e2. I'll go for queen e2. Sometimes white will go for long-term compensation where there's no immediate attack or tactics, but it's just about building up some nice piece activity. Okay, knight f6. I think I want to play rook d1. Like rook d1 and e5 is a very common idea. Also, my opponent just sent me a message. Are you actually Rosen? I'll just say yes. If you go to my profile, you'll see it's an authorized speedrun account. Okay, do I play e5? Let's do it. My opponent says, please don't hurt me. Okay, no promises. My opponent's up a pawn though, so I have to fight back a little bit. Knight h5. Yeah, there's tension. So takes. And there's some initiative, like takes bishop g5 is one consideration. I like that. Let's go for it. I usually don't partake in talking to my opponent during a game, but my opponent says, I'm a huge fan. Use your oh no, my queen mug all the time. Cheers. Got some green tea today. Okay, knight f6. Gotta focus. I'm still on a pawn. Still gotta prove some compensation. Knight's pinned. Knight d5 looks very natural. Yeah, I think I just play knight d5. And now the queen is tied down to the knight, so it's very hard to resolve the pin without losing material. If bishop e6, I can take and win back the pawn, I think. Although I'm not sure. Wait, bishop e6 takes. Okay, rook e1. Do I have a tactic? Can I take on f6 with check? Queen's tied down to defending the rook. So takes, and then takes. Takes, and then takes. I think that just wins a piece. And if takes, I take with the bishop. If takes on b2, I save my bishop. Just making sure. Take. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Yeah, it can be very easy to sometimes misjudge or miscalculate these lines where there's a lot of back-to-back captures. And sometimes before you enter them, you really want to make sure that you're not losing material. It can be sometimes easy to miss moves like bishop takes e2 from a distance. Okay, there's rook takes b2, maybe black can fight. Would have two pawns for a bishop, but then bishop f6, and life is very good. Hitting the rook, d6 is falling. I didn't really listen to my opponent when they said, please don't hurt me. But hopefully providing some instructive lesson here. Yeah, bishop f6 looks Looks good. Attacking the rook. Looking for ways to finish things off in style. I should probably just save the bishop. Looking at rook d6, but doesn't quite lead to enough. Okay, bishop d5 looks nice. Maybe knight g5 coming next. No mercy. So now it's just a knight for pawn. Opponent does maybe want to hurt me. I think h3 is a simple move. Making Luft. Eventually I'll look to double up. I could have taken the pawn to allow rook b1 and then block. Okay, now threatening force mates. And black can prolong the game, like rook e8 and then rook b8. Rook b1 as well. Okay, we'll trade rook b8. Yeah, this might require some patience. I want to get my knight involved. Knight e5. Looking to hop around. Okay, I could take the pawn. Might as well. And then return. So we're simplifying a bit. I want to create some mating attack against the king, but it's not easy to do with just the rook and knight. So what's the plan? Knight e7, king f8. Let's start with knight e7. Maybe f4. I'm trying to clamp down a little bit. Yeah, kudos to my opponent for resisting. It is an important skill in chess to just try and survive bad or losing positions, make the opponent work for it. Thinking maybe the knight belongs on g5. Yeah, it takes some time to maneuver there. If the rook leaves the back rank, then I'm going in for the kill. I think it's force mate. Oh no, my knight. g5 is an attempt, but then knight e7. And the king is not escaping. Okay, finally got the mating attack. Yeah, only one move to prolong the game. Sometimes it makes sense to play this, like hoping the opponent pre-moves rook h8, but I'm not going to make such a pre-move. Okay, good game. Yeah, the Gambits eventually worked out. Got the long-term pressure of taking is probably the best move objectively. Although it can be risky, like if you've already committed to g6. Wow, the engine actually slightly prefers white in this line. Yeah, dc3 is best. Sometimes a safe move is pawn d3, like not playing into white's gambit, and then black can get an easier, at least easier opening development. So going forward, okay, the engine prefers 98. And the knight does have to choose a slightly uncomfortable square. And black is still surviving here. Last move h6, which I think I would be happy to see, because then I can take and win back the pawn. But then, okay, at least black can breathe a little bit. Yeah, what happened in the game was very, very good for me. So, okay. That brings me to 1823. Okay, it was a nice opponent too. I'm just reading their message. Says thanks for the lessons. Yeah, again, my opponent's rating will be refunded. Sometimes it takes a few days because chess.com admins do it manually, but yeah, hopefully some lessons to take away. Let's keep it going. We'll do at least one more. Playing Goosiest and Silliest. Okay. I think I'll stick with my Stafford repertoire. Okay, we have a King's Gambit. I'll play the Falkbeer Counter-gambit. Yeah, there is option to take, which is a Basia variation. But this is a fun line. I am temporarily down a pawn, but get some quick development. This is still some theory, pawn e3. I think I actually showed this line because I played the Albin counter gambit against the Queen's Gambit, which can be kind of a reflected version of this. Okay, I'll take on c3, I think. Actually, don't quite recall the theory, but I think this is fine. There's a funny line, Queen e2, King d7, which will not happen. I'm considering Queen f6 first. Which has some logic. Like if Queen e2, King d8 is a nice idea, threatening Rook e8. Castling is also probably totally acceptable. But I think Queen f6 has a bit more venom to it. I really like the idea of baiting white's queen to the e-file and then just sliding over and trying to punish the setup of white's queen and king. It's also a very simple double attack. Okay, d4. So do I want to win back the pawn? I might hold off, like castling first, keeping options open. I'm trusting my intuition here. Queen f3. That's a good move. Okay, I'll start with Rook e8. And then decide what I'm doing about the knight. Probably need to defend with c6. Yeah, just keeping the knight in the center. Wow, castling queenside. So that does unpin the bishop. At the same time, it puts the king in a slightly precarious spot. I really want to get the queen to a3. It's not so simple. Like if I play queen e7, there's c4 hitting the knight and covering a3. It still feels like I should be able to eventually attack on the queen side. I want to say king side because the king is here. I mean, can I just start with queen e7, c4, and knight b4? Even knight f6? Let's do it. There's king b2. Preventing queen a3. I'm thinking like bringing a knight to a4. But it takes time. Yeah, this could get spicy. I'm trying to decide, like, does it make sense to throw in b5, just discourage this and clamp down? I could play knight b6 right away, actually. I really want to get the other knight in. Yeah, take a moment here. I'm going to go for this. I think it's important to bring as many pieces to the party as possible. And white's a little bit slow to develop the king side. The knight's tied down to the bishop, and just as I say that, opponent begs to differ. Yeah, I think I just take... Maybe white was trying to set up a trap, but I have queen b5 check. So it should be a free piece. Okay, trading is probably the way to go. I mean, taking on g2 is also, I think, playable. Allow this and then play this. Actually, the more I look at that, the more I like it. It seems unnecessary, but it wins the pawn. And I am pinned down a little bit. Okay, there is bishop b4 in the horizon, but I have knight c7, so everything's okay. And this actually does a lot. It attacks the rook, defends this rook, so I'm threatening to take the free knight. Rook e3 is maybe necessary, but then bishop g4. Okay, let's take the knight. The bishop was also attacked. I could have taken the bishop, I guess. Should have considered that. But this is working out. Yeah, we trade bishop for knight. Now I'm up a couple minor pieces and a couple pawns too. Okay. Nice game. Another successful gambit of some sort. Falkbeer Counter-gambit. Yeah, this is a line I've played before, and this was the extent of my opening preparation. E3 to decoy the bishop, get some initiative. And I do want to show this funny trap. I had one game in the past that featured queen e2. Maybe two games in the past. But yeah, there's a very funny tactic here that black can play king d7, getting out of the check, threatening to pin and win the queen on the e-file, and white just doesn't have time to effectively recapture the piece. If bishop takes, then I can take with the knight, and if takes, there's rook e1. And if queen g4 check, then king c6. And the king's actually very safe here. I hit the queen, and black is up a piece. So that didn't happen. Opponent took with the pawn. And, oh, white's actually objectively a little bit better here. But black is still having fun, applying pressure. This position requires some precision from white. Best move would have been knight e2, defending both pawns. Just curious, queen e2, I was going to play king d8. Yeah, this would have been fun. And what happened in the game? Okay, apparently bishop e2 is wrong. Best move, king f2. Losing castling rights, but a reasonable square for the king. And then going forward, yeah, maybe the play here wasn't super precise, but yeah, knight h3 just basically a one-move blunder, and yeah, my opponent didn't even try this, but there's queen b5, and black is doing well. Okay, some nice games today. I think I will wrap it up there. Thanks everyone for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the games. As always, if you have questions, leave them below. If you like the content, do subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.